Good evening, welcome to South Asia Newsline. I'm Uzma Jafri. Here are the top stories we are tracking for you on Friday, the 2nd of July. One soldier killed, 5 Lashkar terrorists gunned down in India's Jammu and Kashmir. US forces leave Bagram airbase in Afghanistan after 20 years. And domestic flights resume in Nepal after 2 months' gap as lockdown curbs ease. And now for all the details. 5 terrorists belonging to Pakistan-based Lashkar-e-Taiba were neutralised by security forces on Friday in an encounter in Pulwama district of India's Jammu and Kashmir. An Indian Army soldier also lost his life in the operation, which was still underway till the last reports came in.
At least 5 Pakistan-based Lashkar-e-Taiba terrorists and a security personnel were killed in an encounter in India's northern Pulwama district of Jammu and Kashmir Union Territory, police said on Friday. Based on specific inputs, a search operation was launched by security forces in the Hanjan Rajpura area of the district, ensued by a gunfight during which an army soldier was killed. Kashmir Zone Police in a tweet confirmed District Commander of proscribed terror outfit LeT, Nishaz Lone and 1 Pakistani terrorist were amongst 5 killed in the encounter. The operation was still going on till the last reports came in and further details are awaited.
We unfortunately lost an army Havaldar last night during the course of firefight. A police, army and CRP is on the ground. They are winding up the operation.
Kashmir is a Muslim-majority region at the heart of decades of hostility between India and Pakistan. India accuses Pakistan of supporting militancy in the area. Pakistan denies the charge, saying their support is only moral and not financial or logistical.
In news from Afghanistan, American forces pulled out of the Bagram airbase on Friday, one of the biggest military bases in Afghanistan, as part of an agreement with the Taliban, symbolizing the end of the US-led mission in the country. Afghans welcomed the move, hoping it will lead to peace, while experts have warned withdrawal of foreign forces may descend the country into a civil war.
After nearly 20 years, the US military has left Afghanistan's Bagram Air Base under an agreement with the Taliban, officials said on Friday. The withdrawal of the US troops from the base, the epicenter of its war to remove the Taliban and hunt down the Al-Qaeda perpetrators of the 9/11 attacks, symbolizes the end of the US military involvement in the country. The final withdrawal of foreign forces from Afghanistan was officially set for September 11 by US President Joe Biden. Residents of Afghan capital Kabul welcomed the move on Friday while expressing concern about the current situation and hopes for peace. Experts have, however, warned withdrawal of foreign forces may descend the country into a civil war, as clashes between Afghan government forces and the Taliban have intensified in parts of the country, while peace talks have remained stalled.
امریکایان باید ووځي د افغانستان کې باید سوله راشي. موږ ډېر په بد حالات کې موږ ټول را تښتېدلي یو د خپل ولسوالۍ نه. ولسوالۍ مو سقوط شوي دي او ولسوالۍ په پکتیا کې سقوط شوي دي، د طالبانو په ولکه کې دي.
The development came a day after US State Department spokesperson Ned Price told a news briefing that it is absolutely not the case that Washington intends to abandon Afghanistan despite the planned troop withdrawal, but will continue to maintain a diplomatic presence in Kabul, he said.
More on news from Afghanistan. Afghan authorities burned about 67 tons of illegal drugs that were seized in capital Kabul, the latest in the fight against illicit drug trafficking. Afghanistan has long been the world's leading supplier of opium, providing about 90% of the global output.
Afghan counter-narcotic authorities destroyed 67 tons of illegal drugs on Thursday that had been seized in capital Kabul. The confiscated substances, including raw opium, hashish, chemicals used to process opium into heroin, liquor and tablet K. Representatives of the government and UN officers on drugs and crimes attended the incineration in Kabul.
UNODC has stood firm with the Afghan government in its fight against opiate trade. For the past decade, Afghanistan has accounted for an estimated 85% of global illicit opiates, fueling instability and insurgency, transnational organized crime, drug consumption, and HIV/AIDS.
مخدرة توكي في مختلف أنواع لري في أفغانستان के ناامني بثباتي لجرائم دلوڑے أو لمافياي باندونو لتقوية باعث شوي.
Afghanistan has long been the world's leading supplier of opium, providing about 90% of the global output. In recent years, the country has produced thousands of tons, more than that the entire global demand for the drug.
Moving on. With picturesque landscapes and cultural diversity, Gilgit Baltistan is the ultimate tourist destination. However, the decades-long illegal occupation by the Pakistan government has brought the entire region to the brink. Locals blame Islamabad's unwillingness to develop the tourism sector as the reason for its downfall.
The Gizar district of remote Himalayan region of Gilgit Baltistan is home to diverse flora and fauna and features stunning valleys and crystal blue lakes. However, locals blame Islamabad's indifference to boost the tourism sector in the illegally occupied region has made it out of bounds for the tourists. The lack of infrastructure, including road accessibility, mobile network and transport facilities, serve as major hindrances for even the domestic tourists who are left disappointed.
सयाहत की बात करें तो वज़ीर-ए-आज़म का ये विजन भी है, सयाहत को प्रमोट करने की बातें कर रहे हैं, लेकिन अमली काम हमें कुछ नहीं दिखाई दे रहा। सड़क की अगर हम बात करें तो सड़क इंतहाई खस्ते हाल है, सयाहों को यहाँ तक पहुँचने में सख्त तरीन मुश्किलात का सामना है। इसके अलावा यहाँ की जो होटल इंडस्ट्री है उसमें भी काफ़ी हद तक काम करने की ज़रूरत है। सियाह वो सवाल उठाते हैं यहाँ पर रिहाइश का खास पर्पस नहीं, प्राइवेट सतह पर बेशक होटल इंडस्ट्री फ़रोग पा रही है, लेकिन सरकारी सतह पर भी इनको होटल इंडस्ट्री की तरफ तवज्जो देने की ज़रूरत है। और जिस सड़क के ऊपर हम सफ़र करके आए हैं, ये सड़क बिल्कुल सफ़र के लायक नहीं है। तो सूबाई हुकूमत से हमारी गुजारिश है कि जब तक गिज़र एक्सप्रेस वे के ऊपर काम शुरू नहीं होता, इस रोड की मरम्मत को फौरी तौर पर यकीनी बनाया जाए।
Locals say with proper policies and planning by the Pakistan government, the tourism sector can give a major boost to the economy of the illegally occupied region. However, it has remained backwards and underdeveloped due to the apathy of the federal government of Pakistan over the years.
In news from Nepal, Nepal resumed domestic flight services with 50% seating capacity from Thursday after the Himalayan nation had suspended the flights in May this year as part of the lockdown steps taken to prevent the spreading of the coronavirus. As many as 5,601 passengers took service on the first day of the resumption of domestic flights on Thursday.
After a span of over 2 months, the domestic terminal building of the Kathmandu airport in Nepal on Thursday bustled with activity again as the Himalayan nation resumed domestic flights with 50% seating capacity. Regular domestic flights were suspended from May 3, days after prohibitory order was imposed in Kathmandu Valley due to the spread of COVID-19. Passengers were seen taking precautions by wearing face masks and face shields as they reached the airport, where 64 flights were allowed to operate daily.
एकदम नै भइरहेको छ हैन। अब लकडाउनले गर्दाखेरि सबैजनालाई त टेन्सन त भइरहेको थियो हैन, कोभिडको कारणले गर्दाखेरि। अब 2 महिनापछि प्लेन खुल्दा नि हामीहरुले चाहिँ सहज महसुस पनि भइरहेको छ हैन। अब टाढा टाढा जानेहरुलाई गाडी घोडा नखुल्दाखेरि, प्लेन नखुल्दाखेरि आपत त परि नै हाल्छ। सजिलो त एकदम सहज महसुस भइरहेको छ।
Air service providers have made it compulsory for all the passengers to fill up a declaration form on their health history before the airline issues a boarding pass.
Sanitizer पनि थियो, यो भाइजर पनि दियो, सबै ठाउँ-ठाउँमा 1 मिटरको दूरीको कायम गरेर सबै प्लेनमा आउने जाने गरायो।
Meanwhile, Nepal reported 1,857 coronavirus cases in the last 24 hours, taking the total tally to 640,662. The countrywide death toll has now reached 9,114. The number of active cases stands at 31,368.
Moving on to news from Sri Lanka, hundreds of turtles have washed ashore after a ship caught fire and sank off the west coast of Sri Lanka in June in the country's worst ever marine disaster, a court in the capital Colombo heard this week. The captain of the container ship, who is accused by the Sri Lankan government in the case over environmental damage done by the ship, made a court appearance in Colombo on Thursday.
The captain of MV Express Pearl container ship that caught fire and sank off the west coast of Sri Lanka, causing a major environmental disaster, made a court appearance in Colombo on Thursday. Tutcalo Vitali, the Russian captain, is among 15 people, including the chief engineer and deputy chief engineer, named as the accused by the government last week in the case over environmental damage done by the ship. In a hearing to update the court on the investigation, government lawyers said 176 turtles, 20 dolphins and 4 whales had died because of pollution from the ship. Whitley had previously been released on $10,000 bail and was banned from leaving the country. The Singapore register MV Express Pearl, carrying 1,486 containers, including 25 tons of nitric acid along with other chemicals and cosmetics, was anchored off Colombo when a fire erupted on board after an explosion on May 20. The Sri Lankan government has made an initial insurance claim of $40 million for the cost of putting out the fire and for the loss of livelihoods for an estimated 50,000 people, mostly fishermen. The insurance company has made an interim payment of $7.2 million to compensate fishermen. Court has been adjourned until July 15.
As masks have become indispensable accessories of the present era, people are coming up with different designs and styles to keep themselves safe. An astrologer in northern India has got himself a unique mask made of gold to encourage people to wear masks properly and curb the spread of coronavirus.
An astrologer in India's northern Kanpur city has come up with a unique mask made of gold to encourage people to wear masks properly and curb the spread of coronavirus. An avid lover of everything made from gold, Manoj Sanger got the gold mask made for himself after the second wave of COVID-19 caused huge losses to life. The mask, weighing around 101 grams, is worth 5 lakh rupees. Sanger claims it has a sanitizer solution inside which will work for 36 months and gives better protection to the person who wears it.
अभी आप देखा कोरोना की दूसरी लहर आई, बड़ी घातक रही है, जनमानस का बड़ा नुकसान भी किया है, तो हमने सोचा कि एक मास्क हम भी बनवाएं और साथ साथ प्रेरणा भी दें लोगों को कि आजकल देखा लोग मास्क बनवाते हैं, पहनते हैं, लटका लेते हैं. दूसरा सैनिटाइज कोटिंग मास्क है.
India on Friday reached the grim milestone of 400,000 deaths from the coronavirus, half of them during the second wave in the past few months. Cases tally in the world's second most affected country stood at 30.45 million.
Well, that's the way it was in South Asia this evening. Before we conclude the top stories once again. 1 soldier killed, 5 Lashkar terrorists gunned down in India's Jammu and Kashmir. US forces leave Bagram airbase in Afghanistan after 20 years. And domestic flights resume in Nepal after 2 months' gap as lockdown curbs ease. Now our viewers can watch the show on SouthAsiaNewsline.com. You can also visit us on Facebook.com/SAsiaNewsline and follow us on Twitter @SAsiaNewsline. That's all in tonight's edition. We will see you same time next week. Have a